Hello, and today we are going to just fill in a few notes. Today will not be a super long lesson and it will not be super exciting, sorry. But we are filling in a little bit of notes. This is what we talked about in class a little bit on Friday. You received pink sheets that looked, why are we not working here? Oh, there we go. Maybe, oh man, I want to go backwards. My arrow buttons are not working. There we go. All right, sorry about that. If I had more time, I'd go back and delete it and start over again, but it's late. You don't want me to do that. You'll just stick with this. All right, anyways, so you got some note sheets that look like this. And if you didn't, I'm going to try to put it in Kami, but I've tried several times today and Kami is not cooperating with my Chromebook. So I'm going to try to do it tomorrow morning at school and hopefully that'll work. But if not, hopefully you have the pink sheets, the physical copy of the pink sheets that I gave you that look like this, except yours were not filled in. So we're going to fill these in today. Tomorrow we'll go on and learn some new stuff. Today it's really just a short little lesson filling in some notes. And you can pause this video at any time to help you fill in the notes. It's not going to be really long anyways, but what we started off on Friday talking a little bit about what, when, and why, what we're going to learn this year. And we said, what is the history of the United States, how we came to be the country that we are today. The when, approximately 20,000 BCE, give or take 10,000-ish years. We're not exactly sure. This is the story of how we became the country we are today. We need a starting point. We're going to start with when the first people arrived in America. And because none of us are there, we're not quite exactly sure when that is. But it was thousands and thousands of years ago, probably between 30 and 15,000 years ago is usually the estimates that we get. And they're always changing it based on new findings, new ways of looking at the findings, etc. So our story this year in seventh grade will get us about halfway through history-ish, halfway. Now I don't know about that. Approximately, it depends on how you divide it. Up to around 1877, which is, in case you're wondering, the end of Reconstruction. Reconstruction is what comes after the Civil War. If you know what I'm talking about, great. If you don't, you will by the end of the year. And then eighth grade picks up sort of the second half. I said 1900. I think they really start with a quick review of Reconstruction, so these really overlap. Not important at this point. All right, why? Well, the reason we study history, did I skip on? Oh, well, history, we'll get to this word again in a second, but what it is the study of people and events from the past. Why do we study? For many reasons. The most important one is probably to understand the present, to understand what's going on in the world today, to understand arguments, issues, debates, problems, etc., that are going on in the world today that we deal with. We understand them more if we have a little bit of context, what came before, and that's why we study history. And I will give you a chance to fill in the notes again. I know I'm going fast at points, but I will pause, or at the end, I promise you'll see the filled in note sheets and you can fill those in if you missed anything. But we are following along right in order here on the note sheet. We're on the first page still. And the second reason why we study is because it's fun. It's interesting. Hopefully you will find it as fun as I do. But even if it's not something really super important that you'd be tested on, it's interesting and it's fun to learn interesting facts about things that happened in the past. And these people in the past who lived lives, they were real people living lives just like you guys. And it's interesting to think about what it was like back then, etc. So anyways, moving on. Now we are on the how. On the note sheet, it's labeled, how do we know what happened? Vocabulary. And we're just going to go right down their list. I believe there's 6 vocabulary words. We're going to sort of fill these in, and that'll be pretty much it for today. Well, maybe. We'll see if I do enduring issues. It depends on how my time's going. So first of all, history. What is history? History is the study of people and events from the past. You could pause and fill that in if you want to. History, the study of people and events from the past. How do we study history? Well, there's lots of different ways. One way is to study artifacts. Artifacts are objects made by humans that provide clues about the past. Now, artifacts could be anything. I didn't put them in there. I will give you some examples in a second. But artifacts are things made by humans. This is not a real important distinction. You can learn things about history from fossils as well. Fossils are remains or traces of living creatures such as bones, footprints, etc. Going back to artifacts though, because you had a blank for examples. So try to think of some examples of artifacts, things made by humans that could provide clues about the past. And it's really an unlimited list. Anything that humans could make probably does provide some clue about the past. So some examples that, at least in the early part of history that we're studying first, might come in handy. Things like arrowheads, pottery, buildings, tools, art, documents, maybe. We'll get into that. But again, don't worry about it if you didn't get all those. I will put it up on the screen. You can pause it later and get these all, make sure you get all these down. And then I skipped over, if you're following along on the pink sheets, I skipped over archaeology. I left that one out of my slideshow because I was going to take that out, but I left it in your notes. So archaeology falls, that's number 3 on your note sheet. Archaeology falls between artifacts and fossils. Archaeology is the study of artifacts. Archaeology is the study of artifacts, which are clues or evidence left by earlier people. You may have seen some, either in movies or TV shows or in real life, archaeologists digging in the dirt and finding like Egyptian tombs or finding arrowheads or pieces of pottery or things like that. Those are archaeologists studying artifacts from the past. Now, they may also come across fossils, things like bones, or a lot of times you find rocks that have imprints of shells in them or something like that. Those are fossils. I'm sure you're familiar with them. They can also provide clues about the past. On to number 5. 5 starts with a blank. This is going to be primary sources. Primary sources are a special type of artifact. Primary sources are documents, and you can underline that word document, documents, that were written or created by someone living at the time the event happened. For example, and there's, again, this could be a limitless list. It could go on and on. These are some common examples. A diary. Somebody keeps a diary. We learn a lot about them. Someone we'll learn a lot about this year is a guy named John Adams. John Adams kept a diary for most of his adult life, so we know a lot about him and what he was thinking, etc. John Adams is also someone who wrote a lot of letters, thousands and thousands of letters. This gives us some insight into what was going on at the time, what he was thinking, etc. But it doesn't need to be famous people either. Anyone can keep a diary, anyone can write letters. All of those can provide clues. If you're using them to find out about the time when they were alive, those would be primary sources. Same with newspapers, photos, videos, etc. So yeah, those are some examples. Now, it's not always primary sources. That just means they were made at that time. It does not necessarily mean that they're better always. For example, you may read an excellent book or see a documentary about something that happened in the past, but that book might not have been written until 2020, or the movie might not have been made until 2020, and they're writing about something hundreds of years before. That's not a primary source, but it doesn't mean that it's not useful. It can still be good. All right. And the last word here is theory. Theory, you may have heard from science. A theory is an educated guess or possible explanation based on the available evidence. And we are going to talk about, we're going to start off talking about a big theory, one of many theories about how people first got to America. You actually have already learned about the land bridge theory. We learned about that a little bit in a video the other day. We'll get into that more. So here would be a time to, this is the part of the notes you should have filled in now. You might want to hit pause, make sure you have all this in your notes, and then resume when you're ready to go. Okay, I'm assuming that you're all ready to go and you've hit unpause, or you already were ready and we're still going. Either way, let's move on. The last part, and this I'm going to breeze through quickly because we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about it right now. This is just to get down. You may have heard of, I don't know if you got to them last year in 6th grade or not, but a big thing in New York State social studies is writing essays called enduring issues essays. Now we're not going to write an essay now, don't worry. We are just going to, or don't get too excited, I should say. Don't get too excited. We're not going to do it now. But we're going to talk about the idea of enduring issues just for a moment. An enduring issue, or enduring issues, I guess I used the plural. Enduring issues are the big ideas of history. So an enduring issue is a problem or issue or question. A problem or issue or question that people have faced, debated, or discussed throughout history, and that societies have attempted to address with varying degrees of success. Enduring issues are the big picture or the big questions of history. And then, though they're the big pictures, big questions, then the historical events and people that we talk about, the stories they provide examples that show us how people in the past dealt with these enduring issues, questions, problems, etc. Don't stress about this, honestly. It'll become clear later on. But for now, we're just getting exposed to this so we can become a little more familiar later on. Examples of enduring issues, and these are some enduring issues. There are thousands we could list. New York State listed hundreds and hundreds of them that they accept in their high school essays. We're narrowing it down. These are ones that we will deal with in 7th grade. Conflict. You probably know what conflict is. Conflict is when you don't get along with someone. It could lead to wars, could lead to violence, could lead to debates. Conflict is something that has gone on throughout human history, and we will learn some examples of that this year. Human rights, and human rights being taken away from people. That's something that has been going on throughout history, unfortunately, as well. And it will be a big part of what happens in United States history as well. The role of government. How much power should a government have? What things can the government do? How should governments be chosen? These are all things that people talked about hundreds of years ago and they talk about now. For this unit, a big one is the environment. The impact of the environment on humans and the effect that humans have on the environment. For this unit in particular, we're going to talk about environment and how environment affects people. Some other ones we're not going to talk about right now, but trade, technology, industrialization, migration, colonization, globalization, cooperation, and security. Okay, so we should now have your first page of notes filled in. That's all you have to do today. Tomorrow, I will put up some questions related to this and we'll go a little bit further. But for today, just get this first page of notes filled in and you will be good to go. So if you do have any questions, on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, if I have a half hour each day of office hours, these are Zoom meetings, they're optional. If you have any questions or want something explained, and it's a lot of times it's easier to talk in person via Zoom than it is to talk by sending emails or whatever. So that's if you are confused about anything, and I think at this point it would probably be just like technology not working or something like that. But today, all you had to do is get these notes filled in and you're good to go. So that's it. I will see you soon. Thank you.